Hello, I'm Alex with Shaw English. In this video, I'm going to teach you the basics about modal and semi-modal verbs. A lot of my students ask me about how and when to use modal verbs. I'm going to teach you the basic English grammar and the situations when you will need to use a modal verb. There's a lot of information in this video. Be sure to watch until the end because there's a quiz and homework. Let's get started. So what is a modal verb? Modal verbs are helping verbs or auxiliary verbs. They give more information and more specific meaning to the main verb in a sentence. Modal verbs can express ability, suggestion, permission, certainty, possibility. I will briefly talk about all of these usages in this video. Let's move on. Let's have a look at the grammar rules of modal verbs. I can swim very well. Can is our modal verb. Modal verbs always come first before the main verb in a verb phrase. Here's our main verb. Here is our modal verb. Can comes first. I can swim very well. Let's look at the next sentence. You should be more careful. Modal verbs are followed by a bare infinitive. This is our bare infinitive. There is no to after should. You should to be more careful is wrong. You should be more careful is correct. Let's have a look at the next sentence. You have to eat quickly. Semi-modal verbs are followed by to in a sentence. You have to eat quickly. Hang on, I just taught you not to use to. When you have should, don't use to. Should is a modal. Have is a semi-modal. How do you know this? Please just memorize it. You have to eat quickly is correct. Moving on. Layla works hard. Here we have an S ending. This is correct. Layla must work hard. There is no S here, and there is no S on the modal. When we have modal verbs, we never put S, ed, or ing endings. Layla must work hard is correct. Lastly, let's look at negatives. I eat. I don't eat. Don't is our negative. I should eat. I should not eat. Not is our negative when we have a modal verb. We do not use doesn't or don't here. We only use not. I should not eat is correct. Now that we know more about the grammar of modal verbs, let's move on and look at some more examples. Let's take a look at some more modal verbs. These ones express ability, can and able to. I can dance. Can is our modal verb. It shows we have an ability. I can dance. I can't sing. Can't, inability. I can't sing. Can't is a contraction of cannot. I'm able to swim. Able to. Able to is a semi-modal verb. We know that because to is here. I'm able to swim. I'm not able to cook. Able to uses not in negative form. I'm not able to cook shows inability. Let's move on to some more examples. Let's take a look at some modals that express advice and suggestions. Should, shouldn't, ought to, ought not to. You should stop smoking. Should is a modal that gives us advice or suggestion. You should stop smoking. Good advice. You shouldn't drink so much. Shouldn't is a contraction of should not. You shouldn't drink so much. Good advice. You ought to prepare for the test. Ought to is a semi-modal. Here's that too. You ought to prepare for the test. A suggestion and some good advice. You ought not to be worried. Here's that not, the negative form. You ought not to be worried. Good advice. Now, ought not to is not that common, but you may hear it once in a while. Let's move on to some more examples. Let's look at some modal verbs that express permission. May, may not, can, can't, could, and can again. You may leave class early. May is our modal verb. It expresses permission very politely. Maybe your teacher will not say this. You may leave class early. You may not be allowed to enter. May not. That's our modal verb in negative. You do not have permission to enter. You can go home now. We talked about can, and it was used for ability. Can is also used for permission. You can go home now. You have permission to go home now. You can't come home late. Can't. You do not have permission to come home late. Here are some questions. Could. Could is a modal verb. Could I leave early? We're asking for permission. Can I help you? Again, asking for permission. Let's have a look at some more examples. Let's look at a modal that expresses certainty. Must and mustn't. You must study English. Must is a very strong modal. It expresses certainty. You have to study English. You have no other choice. You must study English. You mustn't cheat on the test. Mustn't is a contraction of must not. Again, it is very strong. This is not a suggestion. You have no other choice. You mustn't cheat on the test. Let's look at our next example. Let's have a look at some modal verbs that express possibility. Could, couldn't, might, might not, may, may not. He could be smart. It's possible. Possible means we are not 100% sure. We don't really know. That's possibility. He could be smart. Maybe he's smart, maybe he's not. He couldn't be lazy. He couldn't. Couldn't is a contraction of could not. Maybe he's lazy, maybe he's not. It's possibility. We don't really know. She might be late. Might. It's possible she's gonna be late, but again, we don't really know. She might not be healthy. She could be healthy, she could not be healthy. It's a possibility. We're not very sure. They may be friendly. Again, it's a possibility. We're not sure. They may not be quiet. We don't really know. it's a possibility. Let's move on to some extra practice. Let's do some examples together. Advice. This sentence expresses advice. You're dirty. You blank take a shower. Which modal expresses advice? Correct. Should. You're dirty. You should take a shower. Inability. This example shows inability. Sorry, I blank help you. Which modal expresses inability? Well, we know can expresses ability. Can't expresses inability. Sorry, I can't help you. Permission. This example shows permission. Blank, I give you some advice. Which modals show us permission? That's right. Could or can are both modals that show permission. Let's use could. Could I give you some advice? Certainty. You blank be late for your final exam. Which modal expresses certainty? Must. You must be late for your final exam? Wait a second. You must not be late for your final exam. That's correct. Possibility. She blank be rich. Which modals express possibility? Could or might are both good choices. Let's use might. She might be rich. Great job, everyone. Let's move on. This was just a brief look at modal verbs. I have a lot more information that I hope to give you in future videos. For now, let's look at the homework. I want you to practice using ought to. Please give me some life advice using ought to in the comments below. Also, don't forget the quiz. You can find the link for the quiz in the video description below. Good luck and see you in the next video.